Title of this video from Sinchi is called Over Animation. Apparently, there's a lot of drama that's been happening with the One Piece community kind of talking about this concept. A bunch of other things too. My understanding of maybe I have the wrong idea, but when I hear the term over animation, I'm thinking crazy frames and animation techniques that you would see in an anime from, let's say, Gohan Studio, where you think that doing more would be better, but sometimes doing less is better. But we'll see. We'll see.
Sometimes you gotta do it.
Little did he know about Larry.
Oh,
Do I know what this video is about?
I don't know. You tell me. The ship is these two? What about the blue hair girl?
Do I know what this video is about? No. I just wanted to talk about the quote-unquote drama that happened like...
Alright, Kana's Rice Bowl says, you know, maybe over animation is a real thing, or perhaps it's just the lack of substantial directorial intent, far more likely. Either way, this is very, very impressive from a purely 2D animation perspective and simultaneously so flat. I think we're talking about the Supercube incident, where a different animation director too from, what was it, JC staff was talking about the Supercube animation that people were like, yo, you're basically just copying all these amazing techniques, but there's like no soul about it. Kind of Rice Bowl is probably pretentious, by the way. What? Oh, and this isn't a secret, right? Okay, so this is probably pretentious is, why does he have a Twitter account under Hana's Rice Bowl and not, anyways, whatever. Okay, this is probably pretentious.
I don't know, a week ago, and people also, animators, are still talking about it.
The JC staff guy.
Filler content. This video is...
What the hell filler content was this? Why did Naruto turn into a robot?
This video is not gonna explain what over animated is about. That's just a pretty stupid thing to define or critique something.
Okay.
To summarize things, although Chibi already made a video on it, but you know, with popular AniTubers, they are retarded.
They don't know shit?
Chibi already made a video on it.
Yeah.
But you know, with popular AniTubers,
Yeah.
they are retarded when it comes to anything
Production value?
related.
Yep, and that's why I am doing my best to try. That's crazy. Screenshot like 6 minutes ago. That's why I think that like being aware of what happens behind the scenes in making animes, the limitations, right? Understanding what actually happens in the industry is so crucial if you want to like talk about anime like that. Because remember the whole Rogers Base incident with Solo Leveling? Remember that tweet of like, yo, I think that Solo Leveling dropped the ball by having A1 Pictures rather than Studio UFO Table. And takes like that, I think, comes from people who, and again, they don't, it's not like you need to be educated in these production value stuff, but sometimes you can have ignorant out-of-take takes because you just are not aware of what happens behind the scenes, and you might say some shit that just may sound good to the average person of like, why isn't Studio UFO Table doing every anime? And then realize that that's just fucking impossible, and A1 Pictures is already fucking killing it.
Production related. Calling Aoki OPM director? Sheesh. The discussion started when Supercube episode 7 was released, a Chinese anime, and that episode, Neon 41,
that's right,
constructed visually on the surface level, a really great looking fight scene. It took the team 2 years to complete, but there was also a lot of split opinions about the episode, about how the action direction is not the best.
That's right. I think someone said like, this feels very flat. Like there's a lot of things happening in the screen, yet I can't feel the soul, the intent, right? You're just doing shit for the sake of doing it rather than thinking about why it's being done, I think was the general takeaway from the other criticisms.
It's not the best. I also chipped in my opinion under Chroma Fire comment, so
okay,
I can hide it.
PRTs are so funny, man. On one side is only criticizing or mostly criticizing, and other is meat writing. If you're well versed, you realize that it's insanely well animated and the action directing is lacking. It's not that hard to appreciate and criticize. I think that these things are definitely not mutually exclusive, right? A lot of people always try to side with only one thing and try to be so absolute when in reality, life kind of exists on a spectrum and you can appreciate and talk shit about it. Is this a Bochi the Rock Homunculi? What the hell's going on here? Is it a Chimera? I feel like it's Bochi, Rio, and the blonde girl all mixed into one. and Kita as well, right? 4 Bochi girls into one, I think, is happening here. I feel like they just overuse those long cuts back then, just tracking them, blah blah blah.
In my opinion,
okay,
under Chroma Fire comment, so I can hide it. Smiley
got
face.
it.
From my stance, there is criticisms to be had. Lack of impact, the cubic debris just feels like Legos collapsing. There's a bit more, but I do think people was over-exaggerating about stuff being bland. It's not the worst thing or the best thing ever. There's 2 routes here. It's like I'm playing a visual novel.
Okay.
One is the tweet by Kenichi
Hello, Rin.
Aoki, and one by probably Pretentious.
Yeah.
Thank you for the content, Pretentious. Let's
Hello.
talk about Aoki's tweet first. There's definitely mistranslations about the tweet because Google.
That's right. There is a language barrier, and I think the last part of like, it's a shame, right? A lot of people took it the wrong way and thought he was aggroing.
Translations about the tweet because Google don't want to fix their Google Translate.
That's right. I can tell you the auto translation. Guess it's because the direction isn't that great. ... And it's a shame, which sounds passive aggressive in English, is not the tone or message he wrote at all. This is the issue when you try to use Google Translate and there's a cultural and language barrier between 2 separate groups of people, and you know, you kind of just ride on to the sunset by saying, holy shit, this guy's flaming this new young, you know, up and coming guy. Or it could be a veteran in the industry is, you know, trying to give some advice and critical details to an up and coming talent. Like, I don't know.
Aoki, if you guys don't know, he is the main action animator for GZ stuff. He is an in-house staff member for the studio. To summarize it for you normies, he's basically the Yoshihiro Kano for Solo Leveling.
All right.
His output is crazy.
The JC staff Kano, got it.
And his animation is very good. He's not just there for 1 or 2 highlights. He sometimes just carries shows by himself. His tweet is about just the action direction, not the animation itself. You don't need the trained eye to see that this
animation
fight
looks
fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Nian is fucking 19 animating this. It's crazy.
But like, there's 2 parts to it, right? When you just look at something, you can tell that there's a lot of movements happening and hype action, and it's really fun. But then sometimes you want to like observe carefully of like, what is the pace? What are the fight choreography? How is the environment, you know, playing into the fight scenes, the camera angles, the momentum being built? Like, there's a lot of different things, very subjective, that I think adds into this word that we call direction, right? And that, if it's absent and you don't really have an idea of what you're doing with that, it may feel quote unquote soulless.
It's crazy. It's like when William Jiang animated the sequence when he was 16.
16?
I wanna die. Also, Aoki said stop using the same layout, the same movement or expressions as some super animators.
That's
what
right.
Aoki is referring to is Yutaka Nakamura.
The Utapon Cube stuff, right?
Utapon Sensei is one of the most influential animators out there. He popularized the Utapon cubes.
Yeah, the
way
stuff.
Animators now use impact frames. Basically, the impact frames is supposed to be like a punch connecting. So impact. But
Boom,
Utapon
and
does
then
it differently. Like someone standing still. Crazy
Ooh.
impact frames. A lot of animators do that now. And Neon
More impact
41
frames.
is heavily influenced by Utapon style. I don't think Aoki is trying to say copying bad, plagiarism, whatever is bad.
Yeah, on a surface glance, that tweet kind of comes off of like, you are plagiarizing, you're just copying this goated animator, you don't deserve to do this. But if you come in with the perspective, again, of a person who's trying to, you know, give advice to younger talent, albeit there's a language barrier there, it comes off of, I think you are utilizing these things a bit too much in your repertoire, and there are different ways to go on about it, and rather than just spamming this guy's, you know, layouts.
Bad? No. People like Utapon, Norio Matsumoto, Yoshinori Kaneda, these people are very influential for animators, and a lot of animators have that type of style.
Yaiba.
What Aoki is saying, from what I interpreted it, is these people like Yutaka Nakamura, they are veterans. They know the fundamentals. You know why veterans like this, their first works are in-betweenings and second-key animation jobs? Because this is the traditional way of growing in the industry.
You need to kind of get in the trenches first and do all the in-between or second key animation stuff, and then you become actual anime directors, right?
These roles are really good to build your fundamentals because you are sometimes just copying frames to connect the dots with the keyframes. Of course, nowadays, studios like to abuse this system. Slavery.
Yep.
Nakamura is not just good at bombastic fucking dopamine rush animation. His character drawings are fucking amazing. Most normies don't see that. You can look at his old illustrations, or even now from like magazines. That's the thing that Aoki is probably saying, because these new upcoming animators are brought in without proper training.
They're just kind of thrown in, right? Rather than having the foundation built up, working as key animators. And that's an issue with the industry, right? It's not like animators are trying to just get in the industry like this, but it's more like the industry is so fucked up in terms of how little they pay and how much they overwork people, and there's like a lower passion, I think, to become an animator. And now the necessity is trying to just, rather than have people build up the foundations and get better within in-house, you have people just jumping into the project without having done the preparations that led to this, you know?
They just do the craziest layouts and key animation, blah blah blah. Of course, there's those that can build those fundamentals very early on, but those are just exceptions. Now, for this tweet, I think the term over-animated, to put it bluntly, is pretty dumb. I'll get to the other example. And this is not just talking about probably pretentious tweet. There's a lot of people that think some stuff is just too over-animated. Animators like Vincent Chanzard, Nozumo Abe, and maybe some more gets this criticism. Some people like to say these are just all colors, bombastic ass fights, which is too.
Yeah, sometimes I hear like in the ReZero fight as well, right, with Garfield versus Kurgan, that, man, I didn't even know what was happening. I had to slow down and go frame by frame to truly appreciate the fight, and I felt like it was over animated. I definitely heard that.
Stupid, since there's a lot of attention to detail in every single cut. Listen, you can have preference. I prefer Masayuki Nonaka's character acting more than Vincent. That's me being subjective. You can like something more without hating on it. Just one example, One Piece fights are more spectacles rather than grounded hand-to-hand whatever. And some people don't like that because, I don't know, they don't like colors flashing because they're racist. There is things, I guess, that's over-composited. Ufotable sometimes do this. It's a viable critique because we know that Yuichi Terao is an amazing compositing artist in Ufotable. It's not those animes with incompetent compositings that just look shit, and Gohan's is just a less cohesive and...
There it is, bro. When I think about over animation, I think about Gohan's because they just spam everything without thinking. But sometimes I do think that they do it intentionally. I think they have a vision, and the vision is ADHD, brain rot, hair follicles all moving around, each strand by strand, just go, crazy camera angles, right? Like, don't you think they have heard about the criticisms? Don't you think they have read the comments about, like, bam, what the hell is this studio doing? And for those reasons, that's why I respect Studio Gohan, because they are trying to do something different. Now, doesn't mean you're just default good and should be praised for doing something different, but there's a part of me that respects that they clearly have a vision in what they want animation to look like. Even if you don't agree with it, the fact that they're trying to separate themselves from the pack, maybe there can be a scenario where some other people take inspiration from Studio Gohan's and is able to polish that and give us a brand new meta. Like, I don't know. Their crazy camera work definitely is discombobulating, right? A lot of people like criticize their crazy perspectives and angles. It's like, what the hell is actually going on? But the polish, I just don't think is there yet. The vision might be there, but it's just not fine-tuned. And if someone can maybe fine-tune this and give a nice little healthy balance where the fans can appreciate what the fuck they're actually seeing and it has the original intent, maybe that's the compromise, but who knows, man.
Way shittier version of Ufotable. They also do the infamous over hair animated.
Yeah.
Everyone just calls
like every hair strand, they want you to see it. Also, for whatever reason, lens flare, right? The rainbow light lens flare, every fucking scene in this anime at least.
Playing Medusa, flailing their hair strands around. I think a valid thing about over animated, if you use the definition of over then animated, it's what Sokka tweeted, that if an animator or whoever person does the layout know the conditions and scheduling is bad for a project and you just do the most flashiest with an excessive amount of movement, that's a valid criticism.
Yeah, mechanically, right, we're now able to quantify, listen, there is a schedule and there is a deadline that you must meet, and you are over animating in your position to pump out this specific cut. That is literally over animating. But when people talk about this term over animation, right, it's clearly not talking about the work environment, but rather looking at an anime and seeing all these different effects and things happening, and because they visually cannot comprehend what's happening, and they also personally don't like that kind of animation versus some others like the Vincent Chansard versus the other director, since you just mentioned, right? That's when it becomes subjective, and you can't really, you can appreciate those both things, right? You don't have to just like everything or hate everything. Just know that there are different flavors, right? Plenty of different flavors of pizzas exist. Just because someone likes pepperoni pizza doesn't mean they're going to like your pizza. Doesn't mean pepperoni pizza is bad. Maybe to you, but to a lot of other people, probably not the case.
Over here, it's what Sokka tweeted, that if an animator or whoever person does the layout know the conditions and scheduling is bad for a project, and you just do the most flashiest with an excessive amount of movement, that's a valid criticism. And this is mostly about newer anime.
I just thought about the analogy I just gave with pizza, and let's double it up. Let's say you are a pepperoni pizza enjoyer, and you are eating pepperoni pizza. You're not eating vegetarian, and the analogy I'm giving right now is that you are a Vincent Chansard enjoyer, and you are watching Vincent Chansard cuts. And let's say that in this specific example, there's too much goddamn pepperoni. Even you, the pepperoni enjoyer, realizes there's too many goddamn fucking pepperoni on this pizza, Vincent. And at that point, maybe you can say this is over animated. You know what I'm saying? Am I cooking? I don't know where I'm going with this pizza analogy.
Flashiest with an excessive amount of movement, that's a valid criticism. And this is mostly about newer animators that don't know how the industry works, because most of these inexperienced animators gets contacted by animation producers or production assistant, and they do the most complex shit ever that's not gonna work.
They're like, please, we need more people on board. Anybody just get on the fucking thing. There is no time to train you. Just fucking go into the trenches and get shit done.
There's a lot of steps after the layout, and it creates unnecessary work for people like doga artists, second key animators, animation directors, or people who do doga checks when they don't have time for that. Okay. There's a lot of butchered sequences if you just compare them to the layout itself. Of course, sometimes it's just a lack of communications. Producers want those dopamine rush, wanting a scene to look good, then they just go to Twitter as a random
that's some Madoka stuff
to do something without informing them anything else. The most popular example is, of course, a Vincent Chansard scene in My Hero Season 5. Okay. Vincent's layout is very complex, a lot of movement, but in the final product, it was reanimated by a different animator, so it's more easier and less time consuming to finish, and that's that. Vincent didn't know the conditions that My Hero Season 5 had, so he just did what he does normally with his style of animation. Of course, if Vincent knew about the scheduling issue, he would have probably toned down his cuts, so...
Okay, he basically just was too good for this one scene. He did too much. He's just doing his thing, but didn't realize the constraints in this project, and in this instance, someone else had to basically reanimate because it was over-animated. That's another, again, a clearly defined example of what over-animation could be.
So it matches the requirements for them to finish it.
That's crazy. It is absolutely not the fault of the very caring team who have treated me with a lot of respect considering the circumstances. Damn, yes. This is quite the controversy back in the day, huh? To make a public announcement like this?
Early, you don't need to overly complex shit for action stuff. You can have very snappy timing dependent animation that relies on less frames, but still gives that same impact from the poses or
3s, 2s, 1s, baby.
Timing.
Tempo.
The Supercube incident. Why am I saying it like the Supercube incident? Had a lot of people talking about it.
I like it. It's fun to, just like coin these different terms like the Supercube incident, the fallout between AniTubers and random Twitter retards and this legendary animation director from JC staff, right? It's fun.
Even animators, it definitely got a bit too over proportioned, if that's even a word. But in reality, there is valid criticisms to be had if you don't have a normie brain saying every criticism is bad. Since Neon is pretty new in the industry, but some people like to take...
Yeah, he's like a up-and-coming 18-year-old, I think, right? Super young guy.
...it a bit too far. And if you think saying to Aoki, "Oh, we'll see One Punch Man season 3,"
yeah, and then he got shit on so hard because association with JC Staff. The popular narrative is still that season 2 was absolutely ruined by JC Staff again, which is just not true. It is an impossible project that could have never lived up to expectations due to the love letter that was season 1 done by the industry's greats. A lot of people still shit on JC Staff for this. That's also been popularized by other anti-tubers who are ignorantly, propagating this narrative that like, yo, JC Staff's garbage. Nah, I've heard that JC Staff was bad. And as a seasonal anime reaction channel, I've seen so many JC Staff animes recently, and they are great. Not all of them is going to be good. They clearly take on a lot of projects. They definitely do that. And I can clearly see the partition in the priority that they give out, right? If you have stuff like Railgun, if you have Danmachi, they are going to go all fucking out. S tier talents is on there. You watch that anime, you're going to be just like, oh my god, this is a JC Staff anime? This is fucking amazing, right? Then there's like the tier right below that, and the most recent example that I can kind of give for that maybe is Mao 2099, which is an anime that happened maybe last season or the season before that. Clearly not the same quality as, the Railguns or the Danmachi, but still pretty damn good. And then the tier below that, and I think that boy-girl friendship probably is in this transitionary tier, right? I think it's kind of in that Mao 2099, boy-girl friendship doesn't need that much, animation to happen because it's just like a rom-com anime focused on dialogue, right? You don't need to have a lot of movement happening, but still, I think it's good. And then there is, what's that fucking anime? Not Dress Up Darling, Do-Over Damsel. That is when I realized, okay, so they have another tier where now this is like low budget project, right? Like this is like the third tier where it is not good. It's pretty mid. But they, I guess, have some project that they think can get away with low budget, chibi movements, a lot of yapping, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it's still better in debate. Probably true. In terms of animation, probably true anyways. JC Staff, I feel like, has been wronged by, anti-tubers and just people who propagate these narratives without critically thinking. And these people are now shitting on this director because it seems like he was very aggressive to this new talent who did Supercube cuts. And they're saying, oh my god! Fucking One Punch Man was so garbage, bro! Why don't you focus on season 3, dumbass?
Doesn't that just contradicts your whole entire tweet? You're just stupid. But again, it's Twitter tard, so who really fucking cares about those bitches?
Never. They're good for content, right? It is always fun to make fun of them and make content out of it, but realize that things are always blown out of proportion on Twitter. It does not represent reality. It's such a volatile echo chamber of many different schools of thoughts, right? And that's why you have many people glazing, many people hating, and the numbers all kind of look good. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of them are vocal minorities, right? I think if you actually go outside and touch some grass, you'll realize that nothing is as insane as it exists on social media because social media rewards negative engagement. The more volatile, more controversial, right? These things generate clicks. Hate and negativity is a very cheap and fast emotion to generate, the engagement, and that's why social media kind of like prefers those kind of behaviors. That's why everything you see on Twitter, you shouldn't take for face value. It's always a vocal minority. Most of the times, it's a vocal minority that is being shown as like reality, which is just not the case.
I don't know what this video is all about, but yeah. Next vid, To Be Hero X. If you guys like this video,
leave a like. If you didn't, leave a like. For someone that claims that didn't even know what this video is all about, this shit has 75k views, bro. Holy fuck, this is going viral. Please go check out Sinchi's channel. Here's a link to the video. Go give it a like and check out his other content. Let's read some comments, though. I like to read the comments recently. These people are the same who cry when their favorite anime gets PowerPoint treatment. Yeah, you're doing too much! No, you're doing too little! I think it's sad that the animation industry is way past the point of artist expression and more about time constraints and deadlines. And that is very true, man. This is the problem with conflict of interest that happens between creating art for fun, for passion, and corporatization of the art, which is to focus on making money. No longer people, care more about, just doing things for fun, right? Passion project. It's always like hitting the bottom line. And that's why you see, these time constraints and deadlines getting in the way of people having ample time and schedule and inspiration to go out and create art. It's an unfortunate scenario. I think the problem is that they didn't understand the unwritten rule. You make cube debris when the objects are exploding in an overdynamic way. If you make them move with normal physics and low velocity, it'll just look like cubey objects that don't have a place in the world instead of stylized particles. So he's talking about how during the fight animation, the cube debris felt like it was just kind of falling down like Lego, right? Cubic debris is a very unrealistic depiction of debris breaking, but that's the point about the anime, okay? The craziest thing about most Twitter controversy is that 9 out of 10 times the controversy is people taking a rage bait tweet seriously, making a yes. And then the other engagement baiters looking to go viral hop on to get some easy engagement. Absolutely true. The Rocker S, this is a very enlightened take, and this is exactly what I was talking about, right? Negative engagement, rage baiting, the more retarded you can sound, the more you're going to trigger people and get them to just basically bandwagon and just like all engage on it, right? Twitter is never about genuine, authentic conversation. It's all about, I'm going to say some shit that I know will piss people off. And then another group of people will engage with this shit and start making narratives and start ghost boxing. And that's why social media is just so toxic. Social media is designed to keep you on the platform as long as possible. How do we keep people engaged? Make them mad. Aside from Lego cubes, I think Supercube animation is really good and fluid. I think we're getting used to trash animations. We think crazy animations like Supercube can be overly done. This is another take that I've been saying about anime like Tibate and Blue Lock, where you have so much garbage anime that you are now conditioned to lower your bar of expectation. Suddenly, I see Arthur actually punching another character, and I see the arm swinging. That alone got me excited because relative to all the other scenes, this has movement. And now I'm thinking peak when I realize, oh my God, I've been gaslit, I've been manipulated, I have been groomed by Studio ACAT. Even though I have zero knowledge about animation, seeing Tibate fandom asking for just a bit of movement in the anime while other fandoms criticize theirs for being over animated is pretty funny. Yeah, this is truly first world problems, man. I do agree. The Aoki and probably pretentious tweets. It's a very good 2D wise, but kind of lacks in direction. The only thing I didn't like about the Aoki tweet was the ending sentence where it was, if you use the same layouts, storyboards, animation, etc., it's a waste of time, or it's shameful as a certain goated animator, right? The Yutapon guy. That just seems like a weird thing to say to a young animator when there are other animators who have done the same thing, have grown beyond that. And this is the issue again, fundamentally, with language barrier, cultural barrier. The Japanese translation through Google Translate is not going to be able to convey what they actually meant. This could have been seen, again, as a very callous tweet from a veteran who was bullying an up-and-coming animator. Are they racist? No, my goodness, man. Japanese animator, racist Japanese animator calls out young up-and-coming Chinese talent. See what I just did there? See how intellectually dishonest I can be in order to create outrage? And I guarantee you, if you posted something like that on Twitter, people would go crazy and ballistic and the impressions would be off the fucking charts. But it's more likely this is a veteran who sees a young talent overusing, inspiration from this goated animator. And I think that it's shameful that you are only limited to this when I know you can do better, right? This is a much more, I'm definitely giving a way more benefit of the doubt, right? But that's another angle, right? Every story has different perspectives, and a lot of people will just take one perspective, creative narratives, and try to run off with it because, impression in just rage baiting. Anyways, thank you, Chibi, for what the fuck is this? Thank you, Chibi. Sorry. Whoa! Thank you, Senchi, for another video. It's kind of crazy that Chibi got play this one part again. And I want to show you that there's engagement graphs here. Look at this. Look at this.
But with popular AniTubers, they are retarded when it comes to anything production related.
Oh, most replayed part. Got him. See you next time.